hello. Hola, hola, amigos, amigas from all over the world. Welcome to Lima, Peru. Welcome to my home. Welcome to this little corner dedicated to understanding the past of Peru, the history of this country, and therefore the people that nowadays lives in this land, because you cannot understand the people of a nation without understanding the events of the past. So today, my friends, we're going to have the chance of continuing with our exploration dedicated to different museums in Peru. This series is completely experimental. There are really not so many colleagues of mine in Hago doing events from home dedicated to museums, because in most of the times, in most of the occasions, there are some limitations to go to museums inside. So, well, at the end, after knocking many doors and trying to take you inside museums, and well, understanding that many museums are not really ready for virtuality, for the virtual world, and live stream tours, and also thanks to the help of a friend, a voyager also, that led me in this direction of trying to use documentaries or alternative documentaries in different other sites. I was able to, let's say, take you into different museums without going to those museums. So as you can see, we are here in my house, yeah, in Lima, Peru. But from here, we're going to use, first of all, the help of YouTube, and also a national TV channel from Peru that has been making for several years documentaries to museums in my nation. I will be also boarding your questions. So please let me know if you have any question, any doubt you would like me to answer during the event, after the event, or actually since now, by the way. Today we're going to talk about the Gold Museum of Peru. If you haven't heard about this museum before, I'm sure you're going to find it really interesting. There are also some controversies about this museum that I will let you know later also. And if you have been already there, well, I hope you enjoy giving a look to this museum for a second time, well, in this occasion, virtually. So before we start, let me say hi to my friends. There are people already joining this event. So thanks a lot for coming to Lima. Hi, Debbie, SK, Adrian, hola, hola, Diane, hola, thank you so much, Ellie. Thanks a lot for visiting my friends. Carol, hola, Berhard, amigo. Thanks for coming. Thanks for joining. Carol, hola, hola, hello, hello. Thank you, Adriana. Hola, hola. Gillian, hello, Sharon and Mary. So I think we are ready to start with this event. By the way, it is 4:34 p.m. in the afternoon here in Lima, Peru. And we are going now to start with this event. The intention of this series is, first of all, using pre-recorded official documentaries that are in Spanish, by the way, but I will not put play on the audio of the documentary, although you can see it later if you wish to practice your Spanish, if you wish to hear the official narrative of the video. I will let you know how you can get into this documentary. So my intention is using the documentary and also sharing with you a little bit of what I have been sharing with travelers as a tour guide for so many years. I've been a tour guide since 2005, when I used to take people into that museum and also share with you some official information that the museum also allows us to share. Okay, so I think we are ready to start. Thanks a lot for coming once again. And well, I hope you enjoy today's event. So before we start, of course, the official credits for the video of today. So we will turn the camera, and I want first of all, to once again tell you that we are using a documentary from YouTube. And I always use this channel because I really love the quality of the videos they do. This is national television, number 7, Peruvian television, TV Peru. So you can see the name of this channel, TV Peru. You can find their documentaries in YouTube. Please follow them. And if you want to see this documentary, you have to put, of course, the name in Spanish, Museo Sin Límites, that is museums with no limits, without limits. And the name of the documentary is Museo de Oro del Perú, Gold Museum of Peru. This is the last official documentary that was produced in Peru, or the latest, the newest, let's say, to this museum. Also, as you can see, the documentary was made after the beginning of the world pandemic. Okay, so we're going first to start with this event. And also a little bit later, I will share with you the official website of the museum. If you want to see later the museum website, information of where it is, etc., etc. Okay, so let's start. Let's begin with our adventure. And by the way, the location of the museum is quite distant from the center of the city. Downtown Lima, the historic center where I usually take you when we do our tours in the main square, for example, of Lima, is located about 16 kilometers away from this museum. Not really a huge distance, but with the traffic of Lima, it makes it sometimes up to 1 hour distance from the downtown. The museum is located in a very exclusive neighborhood. And it is all these neighborhoods surrounded with amazing houses from the elite of Lima. Let's say the richest, sorry, this is a advertisement moment, a zone that is considered one of the most exclusive part of the city. And this takes me also to tell you the story, first of all, of the collector of this museum. So it's important to talk about Mr. Miguel Mujica Gallo. And if we make a stop here, I think we make a stop here, you will see, my friends, that this is the entrance to the museum. The museum is located in a very exclusive zone, as I said before, quite distant from all the touristic zones of Lima, that is surrounded with houses with huge gardens. So one of the highlights of this museum is the beautiful garden at the entrance. And it has high security because, well, you'll see later why. But the museum is not just one museum, it is 2 museums. So in the first level, in the first floor of the museum, we have the Weapons of the World Museum, Armas del Mundo Museum. And in the underground section, in the vault, we have the Gold of Peru Museum, the Gold Museum of Peru. Both museums, both collections belong to Mr. Miguel Mujica Gallo. Miguel Mujica Gallo is known in our history, in our modern history, as not just one of the wealthiest, most important, prosperous, let's say, men of his time. He also worked for the government. He was also in charge of different ministries, and he was a well-traveled man. He was a hunter, by the way. He was a hunter. He loved hunting, and he loved weapons. So the first collection he created was a collection of weapons, right? So this museum, the second one, the Gold Museum, is a secondary collection he created. Joniel, hola, thanks for your question. He has nuclear weapons too. Joniel, very good question. I don't think so. I haven't seen any nuclear elements in his collection, but he has a large collection of classical weapons, from samurai weapons, Russian, let's say, swords, and conquistador swords, and things like that. So it's really interesting. But usually when I used to come to this museum, we used to skip really the first part of the museum, which is the first floor, because all people were interested in the gold museum. So his collection of weapons, Joniel and my friends, is so big, is even much bigger than the gold museum collection. He was able to collect over 20,000 weapons from the world and about 8,000 pieces, pre-Hispanic pieces, right? So in size, the golden section, the ancient gold of Peru section is smaller, but it is very valuable, of course. Huh? So, so Yoniel, yes. No, Yoniel, it's okay. No worries. So far, I remember because he was more into classic weaponry and very old usually. Although he has some interesting pieces like gifts that he was given, like for example, a sword that belonged to Mao Zedong, a gun from Fidel Castro, things like that. So this is a picture, one of the last pictures we have of Mr. Miguel Mujica Gallo in duties. He was born in the year 1910, and well, his passion for weapons started when he was very young, his 20s. But it was not until the 60s when finally he started with this collection of gold of Peru. So the story of the beginning of this collection is really interesting, and it's because he was really never that interested in pre-Hispanic objects. Of course, he was a very well educated man. He even was a minister of different agendas in Peru during the time, for example, of President Belaunde. So he was able to travel a lot, also representing Peru. And that's why he was able also to get to know, to see different collections in different parts of the world, right? But the story, sorry, I'm going to put a little bit over here, stop. The story of the weapons of the world sort of like was put aside, this part of the museum, when in one occasion, he was given the chance to buy to looters. You know what's a looter, my friends? Tomb riders, robbers of tombs, right? So the looting back in the 1910s, 20s, 30s, up to the 60s was very common thing in Peru. Now we are regulating way more that. So he was given the chance to buy a very unique weapon. And this was a tumi, a knife, a pre-Hispanic knife. The wife of Mr. Miguel Mujica Gallo, which is the lady you saw in the picture, she, by the way, this lady over here, which is one of the principals, one of the directors of the museum nowadays, is the granddaughter of Mr. Miguel Mujica Gallo, Cami Mujica, if I remember her name. So she, the wife of Mr. Miguel Mujica, was in love of the knife, right? The metallic knife, this old piece of weaponry. But also, she fell in love with all of the pieces that the looter wanted to sell to Mr. Miguel Mujica. Because Miguel Mujica was interested just in one piece to add to his collection of weapons. But it was because of his wife that he decided to go ahead buying the whole piece, or let's say group of pieces, right? So thanks to her, he bought the whole, which was about 200 pieces in total. That include also a large collection of cups, okay? So that's a big chunk. Yes, yeah, it's a lot of gold. So he bought the whole lot. Yes, exactly. Also, the whole collection started first with this group of a couple of hundred pieces. And later, more and more came into his collection, and he put lots of effort and money to create what he finally was able to put in that museum. So how much was it? Joniel, it's a good question. The family never mentioned how much they paid for not a single piece. They don't really share much of that information because you can imagine that now it's quite controversial. Now, my friends, talk about looting and buying, pieces to looters. It's not just controversial. It seems like really like negative thing, no? So nobody nowadays will say out loud, no, I bought a piece to looters. But back then, it was like something most rich people used to do because it was nice to have an ancient piece at home, okay? So with the gold pieces, also all the elements came. Like you read my mind, like stone ornaments, like lapis lazuli, emerald, turquoise, and many others that started to incorporate to the piece. So nowadays we have a foundation. The museum is run by a foundation. So first, I would like to give you a frame, a historic frame of the collection, and later we will bore some of the pieces, including also some parts of the pieces that are in the official website, okay, of the museum. So just to finish with this idea about the museum and about the creation of the Gold Museum of Peru. So you know already that the museum was a private initiative. It was not a government museum, never has been really a government museum. Still is run by a foundation that is run by descendants of Mr. Miguel Mujica Gallo. So nowadays they have, this museum has 4 directors, and they are all grandchildren of Mujica Gallo. So Mr. Mujica Gallo was in front of this museum until 1993, when he decided to create a foundation. And this collection has traveled the world. Here, for example, you can see the presenter, and she's one of the administrators of the museum. She's an archaeologist. So she explains a little bit of also the process of cataloging of the pieces, the origin of these pieces. Most of the pieces that we have here are from the north of Peru, the north of Peru. So when we talk about the north of Peru, we talk about cultures like Mochica, like, for example, Bicus, like Lambayeque, like Chimu. Those are considered the greatest societies of the north, but not just golden pieces. I think there's a strong light behind me. I hope you can see this. Good. Can you see well the image, my friends? Please let me know if there's no reflection in the let's say image. Oh, gracias, Diane. Thank you. I think it's part of the video actually. This reflection is from the video. So this element you see here is a litera or litter. No, it was like a chair where the leaders in the times of the Chimu culture, this is one of the greatest societies of Peru, were transported. This is a very unique piece in the collection. So just to show you that Mr. Mujica Gallo was not just interested in gold and silver. There are wooden pieces which are extremely unusual because wood is an organic material and it disintegrates fast. What is most special about this piece, I think I will put a play because I think they will do a zoom on this, is that you can see that all of the piece is wood, and it has in the back part, we're going to put a stop here, has like 6 boxes that the archaeologists think are related with 6 temples. And probably the person who sat in this type of seat that was carried, of course, because the Lord, the leader, was carried everywhere. The Chimu Kapak, that's the way how the Lord Chimu were called. So this person was Lord of 6 temples, probably, right? So because we have the representation of this Lord in these 6 temples or 6 locations, no? So this is one of the interpretations of this element decorating the back of this seat. And there are also turquoises, golden pieces, let's say silver elements also, lots of paint. All of this is original, my friends. Also, what an amazing thing. And what a unique piece also. Oh, sorry, there are more advertisements. So, so many unique elements that you can find in museums like this. Okay, so we know from the Chronicles of the Conquistadors that they saw leaders, northern leaders, leaders from the Chimu culture being carried in litters. And thanks to the archaeological findings, we know, of course, these tales were not a lie or invention, they were true, right? So the museum is quite modest in size if you compare it to other museums in the country. But this is one of the few museums in Peru where you can see gold. So that's the most important thing about this museum. This collection was created over the years with pieces that were purchased by Mr. Mujica Gallo. And as you can tell also, well, he died in the year 2001. He died also of a long disease. There are some controversies about this museum. These controversies connected with the museum are related with the fact that since the 1980s, so the museum was already created, already the collection traveled the world to Paris, to Milano, to New York, to Tokyo, Japan. This collection had some enemies, right? There were experts who said that there were pieces in the collection that were fake since the 1980s. There were sounds of, like fake, let's say, alerts in the Ministry of Culture, and this disseminated a lot. So the story that we know now is that Mr. Mujica, Mr. Miguel Mujica, he constantly purchased pieces without really knowing which ones were true Incan or pre-Incan pieces and which ones were not, because he was not an archaeologist. He couldn't really identify those. It was not ill intention. It was pretty much that he was mocked by people, and some of the pieces were of modern creation. Okay, later I'll tell you more about this. So this section, yes, Joniel, he has mummies too. Yes. He has some few, by the way. Over here, for example, we have a mummy with a classical southern style position of burial. What is the southern style versus the northern style? The southern style of burial in the pre-Hispanic period was the fetal embryonic position, right? In the period we call the formative of our history, we're talking about, let's say, 1,000 years before Christ, we start to see differentiation between the burials in the south of Peru and in the north. Also, this is a Nazca mummy, by the way. It's been studied, and you can see here this position given from probably first tidying the body before it was rigid, so while it was soft and hours after his passing, And then the body was involved with many layers of fabric. In this museum, the fabric has been removed probably even before Mr. Mujica Gallo purchases the mummies, because usually looters didn't sell the whole thing together. They opened the bundles, right? They separated the things that were more valuable. If there were golden elements, they will take them out. So they will dismember everything, let's say, and sell things in parts. So that's how they will make money. In the north of Peru, central north of Peru, the tradition was burying people in extended position. Okay, so I will now go to answer the question of Joniel. Thank you, Joniel, by the way. Thanks a lot for your question. After, I will go on with this section, which is important. So that's okay. It is still 24 karat. Yes, yes, it is true. But you know that for a museum with the value, and the name, the prestige, like the Gold Museum, that destroyed the credibility of this museum, my friend. That destroyed the credibility. And the Gold Museum has been dealing a lot over the years now with trying to clean the name of the institution, because after the year, it was 2002 when officially there were, thank God it was 1 year after Mr. Mujica Gallo died, because the allegations of fake were before he died, but nothing was proven until when he died, after he died. So the institution decided to remove all the pieces that were not of archaeological value. So now they say that all the museum has only pieces of archaeological value. So what element? Now we're going to talk about some of the pieces you'll see inside, because of course my intention is not to replace the feeling of being in this museum, the fun of being in this museum. We're just going to hit the highlights, and I hope one day you will come in person to see this museum. So this is a element that is called tumi, and the tumi is characterized as a knife. First of all, you can see the tumis are knives, right? And these knives were ceremonial. In the north of Peru, societies like the Lambayeque and the Chimu are characterized for the creation of these beautiful tumis. By the way, this one is very important. You know why? This was the first piece, pre-Hispanic piece, that Mr. Mujica Gallo bought. Do you remember the piece that he purchased to this looter that was so beautiful that he wanted to add into his collection? This one was the piece, amigos. What do you think about it? Lovely, right? Lovely. It's a big piece. And yes, Tina, let me answer also your question. Muchas gracias. So the representation here is a deity. It's one of the most important deities worshipped in the north of Peru. In the north of Peru, in the period when this piece was made, there were two societies, the Lambayeque culture and the Chimu culture. Both cultures worship the moon as the most important god. Do you remember that the Incas worship the sun? Maybe you remember that. But not all the pre-Hispanic societies worship the sun as the most important god. The northern societies of Peru worship the moon, because they said that the moon was so powerful that in some occasions it could cover the sun when the eclipse happened. Right? So the moon was more powerful than the sun. So these northern societies worship the sun, but they had also their own traditions. The Lambayeque culture and the Chimo culture that appear about around the year 900 of our era, they both were worshippers of gods that were pretty much the same person. They had different names, but they were exactly the same. The myths and legends are the same about them. So the Lambayeque culture called their main god uh, Nailamp. Nailamp was the god that was considered the most important one for these people. The Chimu culture worship Takainamo. Okay? Let me tell you the story of Nailamp. The story says that Nailamp, this person over here, is for celebration with a group of people that he led. They were starving. They needed food. Their land was not producing crops. So the moon, the goddess of these people, communicated to Nailam that she will take them to a new prosperous land. So these people, his followers, of course, followed him because he was a great leader. And after a long trip that had lots of problems and lots of deaths and losses, human loss, he was finally able to reach the land of the north. And the moon, the main god of them, was established as the main god of the indigenous of that land. So he, Nailam, taught the people of this land new things, new techniques, technologies. But years after, he left the people of that land and flies like a bird back to his home. There's a very interesting thing about the god. He has almond-shaped eyes, eyes like a bird, they say. There are some specialists who think that this person, if he ever existed, came probably from Asia. But there are many interpretations about this story, of course. So the god of the Chimu, Takainamo, had a story that is exactly the same. And it's very curious to see that the bottom part of most of these elements, which is like a half moon shape, it shows like a moon element, right? Remember that they were worshippers of the moon. In some occasions also you'll see a separation of one side is silver, one side is gold. What this represents? The duality of the world. What is male, what is female, right? This to me, also representing Nailamp, has these shells, these muscles. These are the spondylus. The spondylus comes from warm waters. They come from Ecuador. These people were able to access to this shell, this muscle, through, first of all, navigation, sailing up to the north, and also trading, exchanging products. The rest of the golden objects you are seeing here are elements, for example, like this one, that are masks. So these masks that you see here always have these almond-shaped eyes because they are representations of the main god of these people, Nailamp, right? And also something very interesting. Thanks, Adrian, for also commenting about that, the 22 carats, right, my dear? So these pieces of gold are not 24 carats, of course, not because they wanted to fake the metal. No. It is because these pieces were so big and heavy that if you try to make a golden piece with pure gold 24 carats and you don't add a little bit of copper in them, what do you think will happen, my friend? What do you think gold does? When it's too pure and the elements you're doing are too big, it will, it will deform. It's because the gold is too soft. Exactly, Yoniel, yes. goldy stuff. So if you want a metallic piece made of gold, no, to look golden, but also to be hard, resistant, you can mix it with copper, right? But you can do something really interesting. For example, we are seeing here, look at this element, right? We have a beautiful headdress. We have a mask that covers the face of a lord, right? Very heavy mask. So what you can do is you have to heat up the metal every time you're mixing, for example, copper and gold. There's a technique in which like you make the whole piece. It will not look as golden, right? Because it has a little bit of the reddish of the copper. So you have to heat it up again and again, and then polish and polish. So because of this is what I have learned. The difference of let's say, the elements of copper and gold. So the molecules of gold will go to the surface, will be moved to the surface every time you heat up the metallic piece. In that way, you will end up having a piece that will look like 100% gold, because externally it's all sort of like coated with that pellicule of gold, but inside it can be much harder. And later, these metallic elements were painted, as you can see here. We have the original painting, could be cinnabar. Cinnabar, I think it's called, cinabrio in Spanish, which is, by the way, very, very toxic for humans. But the cinnabar was put in the skin of the dead, and that also avoid the damage of the skin of the dead, because the bugs didn't want it to eat the cinnabar, right? So it was like a repellent for the bugs. Janiel, thanks for your question. Who do you think used it, the priests for ceremonial sacrifices? Oh, Janiel, excellent commentary, excellent question. Let me tell you what archaeologists believe. Because most of these elements, these decorative elements, were discovered in tombs, because the looters found these metallic elements in the tomb. Oh, this is really cool. In tombs. So probably these metallic elements, these huge headdresses, these huge, yes, God, these huge nose rings. These are nose rings, by the way. I will explain in a moment how they work. These masks, right? Probably they were just made as what we will call ajuar funerario, or in English, that will be like, I'm trying to remember the word in English, like the funerary decoration. I hope it works like this. Trying to translate it. Also, these were just for the funeral, right? Some of them are so exaggeratedly big that it's almost impossible to wear them alive. And that's why probably they made them so exaggerated big, because they were going to the afterworld. Probably they were never used alive. And also, before I go to answer the question of my friend Adrian, here notice the element of the duality. These nose rings, can you see this little hole, this little opening here and here and here, my friends? Look at the cat, they're so beautiful, right? Another one here. So let me tell you how that works. So the people of the elite, first of all, they were not forced to do any physical activities in their life, right? They were of a separate group. They were sort of like semi-gods in a way, or demigods in a way. So they dressed up in a way that made them look less human, more divine, right? All of these elements, like the big earrings, the nose rings, were to dehumanize their faces, to make them look less human. And the nose rings, this little opening, used to go here. So you can imagine that this was like a big element that even covered the mouth. So the mouth was covered, right? So when you saw one of these, leaders, you were a common person, you saw these leaders in the distance, You saw like they had no mouth, right? They had no mouth. They had, no way to eat, right? So it was just like a special effect, right? I will turn the camera now to answer my friend Adrian. So the technique is called annihilating. Oh, thank you, Adrian, which soften the hardens the metal. Yes, Adrian, gracias. I will take note on that. I am not an archaeologist. I am a tour guide, but I love archaeology. So every time I learn something new from my friends, I take notes on that. Gracias, amiga. Annie Elvi. Gracias. So, Daniel, so they must be to reach to afford such goal. Oh, excellent commentary, Joniel. Another thing very important, and thanks for also talking about wealth in pre-Hispanic times. My dear friend, the general belief in consensus among archaeologists is that there was no concept or understanding of money in pre-Hispanic times. So the wealth was not like in Western world was perceived. And gold had no monetary value. Gold had just religious value. That's why when conquistadors, the Spanish conquistadors came, they were amazed to see not just people, like using golden elements like this. By the way, this is very curious because this tumi, remember, knife is tumi, right? It has golden plates, golden, like a gold leaf, I think you would call it, gold leaf in certain sections, right? So it shows like the duality element, right? Tumi, ceremonial knife, okay? So remember, there was no understanding of monetary value or wealth. So there were people that were descendants of the gods and therefore more important. And they were common people also, which were important too, right? But acquiring gold, you were not as important as the people of the, elites. Huh? Tina, is that made with silver and gold? Oh, Tina, do you mean the one of the nose rings, I think, right, Tina? The nose ring. Yes. And they were able to unite also these two different metals. They made them separately, and then later they solder the in-between section. So in that way, they made them like this. They were amazing. No? They were able to solder different metals, like ahead of many other societies in the world. They use gold leaf. This is gold leaf, by the way. And the cat representation. Do you remember the idea of the three worlds? Maybe you've been in my tours before. If you haven't also heard about this, the pre-Hispanic people, they had a religion that consists in believing that the world was divided in three parts: upper world, our world, and the underworld. The underworld was the world of the dead, and also the crops and the and the upper world is the world of the sun, the moon. So the puma or the feline represents our world. The reason why I make a little stop here is because this room is the one that has the pieces that were purchased by Mr. Mujica Gallo with the first tumi, the knife. So remember that the wife of Mr. Mujica Gallo asked him to buy the whole lot, right? And this is what he purchased: a collection of plates and cups, mainly in gold or let's say silver. I studied engineering when I left school. Oh, gracias. Thanks a lot for sharing, Adrian, a little bit of your knowledge. It really means a lot. Some of the gold artifacts will also contain silver. That's right. Yes, Adrian, it is true. That's what the specialist also mentioned. Even there is, for example, this one is mainly silver, right? There is an alloy, like a metallic alloy, that was considered the most, the hardest one used in pre-Hispanic times, because we didn't use iron, by the way, my friends. We didn't use iron because we didn't have furnaces that were able to melt iron. It's not that we didn't have iron. We have a lot of iron in Peru. But what they did was combining different metals, including gold, silver, copper, lead also. They mix that and they create a metal called champi. If you want to check it later, check the name champi. Champi. So the champi was a metal that they used to build. What is this? Sorry, I'm trying to remember. Clubs for fighting, right? Instead of, for example, rock, they use champi. Okay, so maybe gold was just an ordinary common element. Well, Janelle, the golds had a very important value, but not the value of money. I think, to be very honest with you all, the gold was even more important than money, like a coin, because yes, a coin is important, but you will not consider a coin to be part of a god. They believe gold and silver were part of the god. There is an old legend that says that gold was the sweat of the sun in earth, and silver the tears of the moon in earth. That's why they couldn't use gold and silver like, elements for just decoration, right? Like of the communion. They were elements of the god. The temples were covered with gold and silver. And the representatives of those gods dressed up like that because they wanted to look like those gods, right? That's the importance of this metal. Oh, I'm going to unlock the computer because it's frozen for too long. Just give me a second. Okay, we will continue over here. And thanks a lot for your commentaries, for your questions. Muchas gracias for your participation, amigos. It really means a lot to me to have you here and to ask me things. I hope that this communication is enriching also the experience for you all. These are miniatures, by the way. These are little objects representing sort of like pictures, like little figurines, elements that were important for the people who were buried in a tomb and that couldn't bring the authentic real size elements. Sometimes you see fruits, trees, like a lot of things. Is this museum in Lima? Yes, Tina. Yes. Have you been there? Yes, Tina. A lot, my friend, a lot. I used to spend a lot of time in the Gold Museum, although it's one of the most distant museums from the historic center. And although also many people didn't want to go to the Gold Museum because of the bad reputation the museum ended having because of these reports of fakes, right? It was sometimes complicated to convince people to go to the museum of gold. But now, of course, they are cleaning up their reputation. And it's important because all of these pieces are now cataloged in the official national catalog of archaeological pieces. So that explains when they say people. Yes, exactly, Joniel, exactly. When the Spaniards came, they just switched the idea, of being just religious elements to be religious and monetary. And this is a mummy that is in fetal position, by the way, with no bundle. Remember, and little children also. These are mummies of children, babies, who were also given, sold to the collection by probably Luther. No? So, well, the state of the mummies is quite good because you can even see skin in the mummies. You can see teeth in the mummies, which is really surprising, right? And the collection of mummies is small. They have like about, let me remember, like 6 mummies only, but not many museums expose like this mummies, no, like they are doing. Mm-hmm. So the gold really didn't change value much after the coming of the conquistadors because the common people were not able to use gold. It was taken by the conquistadors and reused. So, um, so the gold that you see in this museum is gold that was hidden in tombs. Um, and here you are seeing, by the way, the extended position, burial position of the north of the country. Mm-hmm. So just to give you an idea of the difference. And one interesting detail in this one that I remember also mentioning a lot with travelers who used to come with me to this museum. So the mummy belongs to a lady who, for that age in our history, for that time in our history, she was a very, very old lady because it was not usual that women and men were able to reach 50 years old back in that time. The life expectancy was until 40 years old approximately. So she was over 50, probably in her 60s or two, but she had a disease that you can see in the position of her hand. She had arthritis, and she died of a painful disease, a disease that caused her pain. Unfortunately, didn't allow her to move. She must have suffered a lot in her last days. And notice here this section. In a moment, I think the camera will go a little bit upper. The skin in her face is green. And the reason is because she had a mask, but the mask was a copper mask. So that's why the skin dyed with the green of the oxidation caused by the oxidation of these elements. No? So finally, we are coming to the end of this explanation. It's been extended a lot. I'm so sorry if I'm taking you longer than you expected. But this museum is really interesting. I hope you are having a fun time. So we can see here also a collection of skulls. So they are mummies, which are complete mummies, and there are some skulls, which so far I remember, there are like 6 or 7 skulls in the exhibit. And yes, Tina, exactly. They are number one, elongated skulls. So most of these skulls are from Nazca culture, the south of Peru. And also another interesting thing is this one here. You can see that the skull has gold. Can you see this flake of gold? There's another one here. So these flakes of gold are covering a hole. These skulls were trepanated. And these trepanations, which were surgeries made by the pre-Hispanic people of Peru, and also trepanations that still are done around the world, no? But we're talking about Nazca people, people who live about 2,000 years ago, right? They trepanated the skulls of the people. There are no conclusive reasons why they did it. Probably as a treatment, as a health treatment, could be to treat mental diseases, or maybe an accident caused by a weapon, right? Or also as a way of initiation into the shamanic world, the world of the foretelling, right? So they made these trepanations, they open the skull, and then later they cover the opening with gold, right? So what an interesting thing. So let me now go to give you some information about this museum. Remember that you can see the full video and the details of this video. We just hit the highlights of this collection in this site, Museo Sin Límites, Museo de Oro. And also, I will give you some recommendations on, first of all, I think this one. Okay, so the Museo de Oro, how you can find it. In Google, you're going to find information about the museum, including the opening time. They are working, by the way. are working by reservation. They have a contact number also. The admission fee is about $10 per person. Mm. Where is the museum? I remember, I think Tina was asking me, right, Tina? Where is the museum? Downtown Lima is over here, the historic center, right? This is, let me try to, sorry. Over here. Okay. So this is the airport section of Lima, the airport, right? This is Miraflores district. If you have ever come to my tours, you know where we are in this moment here, Miraflores, the touristic district. Downtown Lima, the historic center. And here we have the museum. It's quite distant, okay? About 16 kilometers away from the center of the city. But it really was a visit. This is the website of the museum. I hope you are seeing the site over here. Do you see it here? museooroperu.com.pe. The site is not translated into English. It is very common here that most of museums don't have website in English. But if you're able to jump to this museum's website, let me tell you what you will find. A little description about the Museum of Gold, the Museum of the Weapons, information about the opening, the new opening, a little information about Mr. Miguel Mujica Gallo. And here, look at this. If you jump into here, you're going to see some videos. Let me, for example, show you this one here. About the first room. It is not the whole museum, okay? Just to let you, that's why I didn't use this one. It's just the first room. But you will have the chance of seeing from your home some marvelous pieces in this museum. And if you want to learn more about the pieces, I'll show you in a moment what you can do. Remember, this is the first piece, but in the by the collector of this museum, Mr. Miguel Mujica Gallo. So if we go upwards, you will see, if we click in the section of Museo Oro. Yes, Carol, me too. Well, you in my controversial series and also my greatest mysteries of Peru. I have also some really nice, let's say, events that I recorded. You can also see them in my YouTube channel about the Nazca culture and the theories about who made the Nazca line. So here I have to share with you some pictures. These are pictures of the collection. If you want to learn about the history or just some brief information about some of the pieces you are interested in gold, come to this website, take your time, see all of this information. It will be very entertaining. And also to finish a little bit with the story of the controversy, this is an article from Forbes that is related to the Gold Museum and to the allegations of fake pieces. So I think you can also check, well, if you go to Forbes or you look for the title, I think it's the title over here, Fakes in Peru Gold Museum, you're going to have access directly to this document. Part of what is here is what I share with you during this event. So I hope you enjoyed that. If you wish to see my past tours in Hago, I don't repeat my tours from home because there's also so many other museums I want to share with you. So you can come to my channel in YouTube. Here you can find the name Adventurous Travel Guide. So you're going to find different already recorded, they were live, but now recorded documentaries about Peru, about the history of Peru, about museums in Peru, museums in Lima. So please come. I would like to invite you also to do that at any time. I have also coming tours, my friends. I just posted today lots of new tours for October. So you are all welcome to see my upcoming tours. You can also, if you wish, follow my channel. Following the channel helps a lot as well. You're going to be informed of my upcoming tours. I am so happy always to have you. And well, it is a pleasure also to have your company. I am sharing with you also an image with my information, all my information, on my website, the channel here in Heygo, in YouTube is there for you. If you would like to support this channel, you know these are free to join tours, which I love to do. If you would like to sponsor the channel also, you have the alternative to do that. A tip will help a lot, and also we share, we split the tips with Heygo, so in that way Heygo can be kept free to join. So if you don't know how to do it, I will activate a button that will help you to guide you into how you can donate. And also you can become a sponsor to this channel if you wish, with a little fee every month. You can adopt this channel and also this project, and also still support Heygo because we share, we split your contributions with Heygo. So thank you so much for participating on this event. Muchas gracias. It's been a long event, but I hope you enjoy it. Joniel says definitely is on my bucket list. Oh yes, of course. And we have a guide in Cusco, Mike. He's amazing. He's not doing tours in this moment much because he's still working with in-person groups. But if you can, please follow Mike. It will be wonderful to see, you to see him, because you would love Cusco, you will love Machu Picchu. He does tours in Machu Picchu, and if you come to Peru, you can also contact him. So Carol, she did a Nazca. Yes, that's right. I did a Nazca. Do you remember, Tina? That I did a Nazca. It was really interesting. But I have it also here in the channel. So if you want, you can come also anytime to see it. So gracias. I'm so happy you enjoy it. I hope you learned something new about Peru today, and I am always happy to be here sharing with you the history of my country. Hope to see you in the next tours that I will be doing. Take care, stay safe, and if you have any questions, please contact me, send me a comment. I will be getting back to you soon. So, gracias amigos, take care. Best to you all. Have a lovely rest of the evening, rest of the day. Thank you. Bye-bye. Ciao. A pleasure, Tina.